This is my review on X-Men Days of Future Past, the Rogue Cut, which is the extended version of the film. But I guess they call it the Rogue Cut, I'm guessing because Rogue's actually in this film, so. But she plays a key part, but just not as big as I would. This didn't have as much screen time as I was expecting, or probably most people expecting. And it's a different film, but it's not a totally different film. Like Daredevil, the extended cut, director's cut. I mean, I guess it is a totally different film because it tells you a different story, a little bit, sort of, kind of like Daredevil, the director's cut. Except, well, that turned into a mystery, and from a love story, the theatrical cut was a love story. And the director's cut turned into basically a mystery. This is has a scene that changes the story a bit. I have 1-2 scenes that change the story a bit, and I'm going to get to them. But overall, it's tells kind of the same story, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's a totally different film, but it gives you a different point of perspective. I'm wasting time. I'm just going to review the film. Okay, so mutants and humans are being enslaved by machines. We'll explain and slaughtered also. So more than half the X-Men are extinct, and we know that Beast got killed in the future because Wolverine said to Beast in the past that he doesn't survive. But if we change the future, you would survive. So, because Wolverine's past for future has just gone to shit. It's like no one will remember what happened before he did, because he will have the only one. If this works, he'll be the only one that has these memories from the past and remember this life. And he's told us by Kitty Pryde, who has the powers to transfer Wolverine's mind back into the past because he doesn't really age, and that he has a healing factor. Now, it was going to be Charles to do this, but his mind can take so much, but Wolverine's mind can take all the damage it can take because his cells repair themselves because of his healing factor. So he volunteers, and they do it. Change the past, but it's not bumps on the way, and that's where the story gets really interesting. So the Union prevent Mystique from becoming Mystique were based on how damn by first time she killed, and the 1960s. So Wolverine goes back to 1960s, sees that Xavier can walk and doesn't have his powers anymore because of his medicine he takes. It only helps him walk. It takes away his powers, but he takes a munch that he's kind of overdosing on it, and it's displayed by Beast he says he only takes that medicine to control his power, but he takes too much of it, you know? He tells Wolverine after Beast and Wolverine get into a little bit of a fight. Charles breaks out, then he discovers that he can walk. Then he explains that Mystique needs his help because she's in trouble, and that he's from the future. He explains the whole thing, and he knows he doesn't have his powers because Charles said that in the future. And he pokes fun. He points out the office, saying to Charles, "If you had your powers, you knew I was telling the truth." So he says, "I told you the professor's not here," as in he's not himself anymore. And he is very depressed because he misses her sister-like figure, Mystique, but her name's Raven. So she becomes Mystique after she supposedly kills for the first time the president of the United States, which is and that's because of that action they got hold of her DNA and modify these drones that are killing mutants and humans. So because they use Mystique's DNA and to enhance the abilities of the robots that call the Sentinels, which is confusing when you think about, because in the past movies the Sentinels couldn't do that. They were just regular Sentinels. Now they're super duper Sentinels with superpowers. I know this because X-Men Last Stand, you see Wolverine take off a head of a Sentinel, and it looks just like a regular Sentinel you saw from the comics. It looks cool, but it's not. It doesn't have a superpowers at all. So, I guess they waited until later in the near future. And when Wolverine comes back, and X-Men movie called The Wolverine, we mentioned Charles and Magneto. They say that the people's lives on the line, and there's war's going to come to the end. It just looks like his society is like too similar to ours to look like the future. So it makes me think, well, they have time to kill to come with some smart, hopeful fans. And only we don't know what that is, but they don't. So I guess they don't really come with a foolproof plan. So they might have just getting wasted most of the time. When time passes, hopefully this will blow over. I don't know. Anyway, so and Charles is depressed, keeps on overdosing on these medicine that suppresses mutant abilities, and Wolverine comes up with this, Charles from the future comes up with this plan and breaks it down to Wolverine breaks it down to Charles and Beast, and these think it's not a good idea to help Magneto escape from prison, but they do anyway, with the help of Quicksilver as a teen with attitude. Which in this film, he's just I don't see why people love Quicksilver in this film. So I don't see why people love Quicksilver in this film, because he's this 90s teen stereotype in this film. I think doesn't really feel like an interesting character until X-Men Apocalypse, you know? And Dark Phoenix. Yeah, so I found him likable, but kind of cliche and kind of annoying. I wasn't annoying because he was annoying, but I was annoying because it's been done several times. It was first killed 100 times, but after the 101 times, it's just annoying after a while, you know? So Silver tags along, and tags along, and well, helps the what's left, the X-Men, Magneto, Wolverine, and Beast. And Silver knocks all of these guys out in slow motion, aiming bullets at them. Then they go to Mystique and save her skin. Mystique is about to get her is about to get shot. She asked this child to do something, and he said he can't. He doesn't have powers. Magneto knows, figure out that he doesn't have his powers. So, and so, I like the scene when they decide to play chess again for the first time in years, and start to rebuild the free friendship that was. And this time, and we first see them, they have never been separated in the any X-Men film. So this, and when they said that they were more separated in the future than ever in the past, in the 60s, it makes sense because they feel completely separated and not communicate with each other. So same goes for Mystique and Charles McCune. Charles, Xavier's AI called Rebus. No, what's it called? Not Rebus. Charles saying that he puts his helmet on. Yes. Sabotage by Mystique after Mystique, also known as the Raven, woos Beast with her feminine charm, and puts on act saying she wanted to come back to the home, and she asked Beast a question of what he said in the first one, saying her not being beautiful, not being considered beautiful, which was kind of a douche thing to say. Made me not like Beast very much, but he redeems himself by after Mystique pops the question, "Do you really think I'm not beautiful from like you said years ago?" And Beast decides to tell the truth. She says, "Truth is, I think you're very beautiful." And they start doing it. They have making out, having sex, and Mystique sabotage the Cerebro. And for what she does, she says, "I'm sorry, Charles," and the sabotage Cerebro. Oh, Cerebro, that's what it's called. Then Charles, Beast, and Wolverine find out. And that's when Beast realized he was being used. Breaks the news to Charles. So yeah. And anyway, in the future, Kitty's Pryde is bleeding to death because Wolverine stabbed Kitty Pryde, and she's bleeding to death when he was freaking out in this, and stressing out in this, when he was in the past, and if it's something that in the past affected the future. So, they get Rogue. Turns out Rogue's alive, and Charles didn't know it, and, so they break Rogue out of the cell that she's being kept on and being experimented on. Bobby, who is Iceman, sacrifices his life to save Rogue. And they bring Rogue where the X-Men versus the X-Men mutants are hiding out in and she takes over for Kitty Pryde's job and keep Logan in the past, so his mind stable and save his mind and stuff. And she says to Logan, saying, "Hello, Logan." And Logan knows that it's Rogue that's now knows that Rogue's alive, and knows that Rogue's got his back. So yeah, so the next day they go try and Chow stops taking his medicine and starts to get his powers back. And he talks to Raven, tries to talk some sense into her, and saying that this isn't the Raven that he knew as Raven he knows, and she's not acting like herself, and he's not strong enough to control her thoughts, but he is strong enough to communicate with her telepathically. Then when he is strong enough to control her thoughts and control her actions, he just communicates her telepathically and realizes he was wrong into pushing her away and to reading her mind from X-Men First Class, and that he pushed her away because of it. And that he was wrong, and he says that he's going to give her, that he's going to let the, and she knows what's at stake in the future, that it's basically a massacre because Magneto breaks it to her, and he wants the Mystique to kill it. What? While they're flirting, it's kind of confusing, and now it's just realized Magneto's motivation. Confused. I thought he valued all, like, not just a small portion of it. So, after that brain twist, during our final act, after Wolverine's dry and mortally wounded in the past, at the end of credits, he gets picked up by this guy called General Stryker, then it's later to reveal this really Mystique that picked him up. And this is how the movie ends, and the theatrical and the extended cut, and it goes nowhere. I mean, literally, they forgot about it. Literally forgot about it, and the other X-Men movies never referenced on what happened. So, this is after we reset the future, and the future's all bright and shiny and pretty, and everyone's happy and alive and together and living and having blah blah blah, all the sunshine, sweet sugar cookie stuff. And Charles is only when a Charles can actually stop. And a climax is not really a climax, not a typical climax. It's more of a climax. Is a bit of a climax, but then like, for example, there's a bunch of things happening, character stuff happening, not much action stuff. Manuel makes a really good speech saying that this is our day of rising for humankind and the falling for humankind. And Mystique sees that we're already the enemies. Charles sees a peaceful past, and that we're not the enemies yet, unless you pull that trigger to the president. So, she doesn't, because Chow left the decision in her hands without any mind control, just communicating her and letting her know that whatever happens is her choice and on her. So she drops the gun after shooting Magneto in the neck. And I like how he flusters her saying, "I thought you were a better shot." And she just kicks him in the head and says, "I still am." And takes off Magneto's helmet. And it's slash this child do a thing with control Magneto now to save his friends, Beast, and they change the future. So Logan, after resetting time, he goes to find Charles, the professor, as an old man, again, and he asks if he could have a huge history lesson since 1960s. Everything he wants to know what happened, everything since 1960s, because he said the future he knows might be a lot different than what he remembers. And then that's when Chow realized that that's the Logan from the past that he bonded with as a young man. And that Charles that bonded with Logan as an old man before bonding him was a young man no longer exists because the future's a lot brighter. So technically the one that died and Logan was this Charles, not the other Charles. From the original X-Men comic, because that's been wiped clean because of this. Days of Future Past, the Rokas, I give it a 10 out of 10, even though it's a little confusing. I got that emotionally invested in these characters. I love these interpretations of the X-Men characters that start with First Class and continue to X-Men title called the Dark Phoenix. Yeah, I love these. I didn't love the original X-Men until the third one, because I just felt like they could have done better. I think the only gem in the original X-Men trilogy is X-Men: The Last Stand. Everything can't say for X-Men Wolverine Origins or the Wolverine, because those aren't gems to me. But Logan is. And Deadpool 2 is. Deadpool 1 not so much. I have mixed feelings too, as I like it, but it doesn't feel Deadpool-y enough. It doesn't feel like they incorporate enough his character or give him a good enough character like I would like to see, like what happened in Deadpool 2. Like what I saw in Deadpool 2, I mean. And, the other gems that are in the X-Men franchise, I say, is this, the road cut, and the theatrical of Days of Future Past. And this is the theatrical, director's cut of Days of Future Past, called the road cut. And I say the other gems is X-Men Apocalypse, First Class, and Dark Phoenix. Because I love all of the. I want people that like the new run of X-Men that started in First Class way more than I ever was. I was more, because I'm more attached to them. I'm always feel so attachment to them, and mostly in ways I never felt the original X-Men cast in day one, except for Rogue and Mystique. Wolverine, no, I didn't like Wolverine in the first X-Men film, okay? Or the sequel. Well, I liked him in the sequel because they gave him a character arc. But that being said, he still didn't feel like Wolverine because he didn't quite act like Wolverine. They kept his personality to what felt like in the first two X-Men felt like they stayed true to his personality to a minimum, but not serious. And the reason why I think he's the worst X-Men in the X-Men trilogy, because he has the furthest away from his comic counterpart personality and his charm. And which was sad, because in the comics he was my favorite X-Men, you know? Well, this exists now, because except for the only when he is my favorite X-Men is in X-Men Last Stand, Logan, and X-Men Apocalypse, because he felt like the real deal in those ones. And the other ones, he just feels like a phase more than a character, you know? And what I'm trying to say, he's not good in most of them. He's not interesting, you know? He's lacking more. He doesn't have enough personality as I want him to have, and like Wolverine from the comics. And, you know, it's just... I had trouble buying Hugh Jackman as Wolverine since day one. Because I always knew he could make a good Wolverine, because I have faith in him, because before this movie, because I think Swordfish came on, I remember he was really good in that. So I was really hoping that he would play the perfect Wolverine, but he didn't play the perfect Wolverine until Logan came out, and that was the exception of X-Men Apocalypse and X-Men Last Stands. So I guess and then this one, oh my god, in this one, his performance is just the worst. I was so glad that he died and was drowning and was more than because he was just bad in this film. I don't know what's happened to his acting in this film, because I mean,